All right, fantastic. So, has anyone not heard of the, verbiage tripartite board? Everyone feels confident, familiar. All right, then I'm just going to do sort of a 101. So, um, as community action agencies, it is federally mandated by OCS, and this is all taken right off of the OCS website, which is hyperlinked. That we have a tripartite board, which is made up of a third of low-income individuals and families, a third of elected officials and their representatives, and then a third major groups and interests in the community. So basically, private sector. This absolutely does present some really great benefits in moving the work forward. We get to have a diverse view of stakeholders on our board, which is really helpful in moving our work forward. However, it also presents some unique challenges in how to just ensure that we are keeping our board engaged and recruiting the best board talent. So we're gonna dig into, like we said, some ways to highlight your board and then some opportunities that we can start to work into probably our current board engagement plans. Do all of your boards go through an onboarding process out in addition to, the continuous improvement mandated pieces? I see everyone shaking their heads. Yes. So that's fantastic because a lot of this is going to start with how can we, as we're onboarding a new board member, really begin to level set and set expectations around communications and development, and how we can then have opportunities to sort of take that above and beyond. So, with a board, like I said, we often have very diverse viewpoints and experience levels, and it's important that when we're planning, and the key word is that we're planning, hopefully, board meetings, activities, or communication, we don't make any assumptions because of the diverse experience level. And this is really with any board, but really in tripartite board, the experience level of private sector or an elected official, is very different, and experience level if we of low income individuals representing and all other parties is a little different too. So you know and I'm not sure if anyone else does, I sit on volunteer boards myself. Let me tell you a little bit about my onboarding experience recently. And I'm a marketing professional. But in most of the boards I've sit on, except for one exception, it's been a pretty lackluster onboarding process. And that's actually really helped me to think about what I want to make sure that I'm doing for our board members as we come on board. And to never, I'm sorry, my notes are kind of out of order here. Oh, I think that there was a little copy and paste error. But what I was saying is, making sure that then we give our board an experience level that I wish I could receive as a marketing professional. I want to sit on a board and I want to leverage my skill set. So I want to ensure I can confidently speak about our organization. I want to make sure that I can confidently represent in the community and just be able to know that I'm pushing the work forward. So we're going to talk about setting up for success with key expectations is to make your onboarding exciting and to keep it ongoing. Once someone is onboarded, how do we continue that success and engagement outside of just board business? So we want to ensure we're going beyond compliance and legal standards, although that's very important when we're onboarding our board members to speak to, the expectations, especially as a CSBG designated organization. And we want to set clear giving standards and open committees and work groups. So, our board is often an extra arm of development, and we want to make sure that we set those clear expectations that they would be participating in those types of events. Um, One of the things that can be really important in an onboarding packet or as we begin to onboard is simply, again, not making those assumptions and putting together meeting protocols for in-person or remote meetings. This is something that I think is kind of overlooked sometimes. If you want them to have their camera on, if you want them to change their name, if you want anything that's like remote etiquette, don't make any assumptions that they know how to do that. If you want, join preferably by laptop, if not by phone or those pieces. And then same with in-person meetings. If you would like them to come a few minutes early, or if you're going to provide something eat or drink while they're there, if they're coming after work and starting to think about those things. If you're not providing those, if they are coming after work, to start providing those to in-person. Giving them basics of understanding financial statements and auditing process if you have a current strategic plan, and we're going to sort of dig into these a little further, and how to be an effective ambassador and advocate for your organization. One of the key things to remember with your board members is that they are also volunteers. So they are usually also fully employed in another role. They also have family obligations, and all the things that we're all working on, plus volunteering for our board. So it's important to keep that in context that they're taking time out to really, they want to have that community impact. So some of the things that are helpful is just make very clear expectations. We don't want to make any assumptions. So create a calendar of events or program showcases for the year that board members can attend. Create board appreciation plan for the year, and it doesn't have to be big things. One of the things that goes a long way, I've had so much, is just say, we're going to cover the cost of your travel for events and meetings. And as part of your onboarding package, we're going to give you $100 gas card right off the top, and making those like little pieces so it feels, celebrate them in public, invite them to speak on behalf of your organization. And in part of their onboarding, asking them how they like to be recognized. That's important. And like I said, we're going to dig into this. And then creating a board communication plan for the year, including talking points around programs and timely crisis communication and expectations. So we're going to see how we can sort of highlight what we're already doing and maybe some opportunities to add into our current board management plans. So this is for us as development communications professionals. So where do we come in? So when we talk about onboarding, the very basic pieces in creating that onboarding is not only, supporting our senior leadership team, but maybe putting some ideas. So if we're not already, we should create a swag bag. Think about if you have, um, you know, old promo items or branded sticky notes or pens. Ask them as part of their onboarding what their clothing size is. If you are purchasing any branded clothing with regularity, you want to ensure that you're also extending that to your board so that when they're out in professional settings, maybe they are more inclined, to wear your organization's branded items. And for some of you I know have been to our CAAP conference or have been a part of an event where where you receive swag. One of the things, especially when we're thinking about board members, and maybe you're purchasing specific items for board members, but think about professional wear specifically and functional items. One of the things, if you ever see Beck out, we have him decked out in, I buy like these very nice dress shirts that are logoed. We have them available for all of our staff. We also do polos. Think about extending those pieces to your board, raincoats, things that if they're going to the office, maybe they'd throw that on, especially for our elected officials, getting that they're already being an advocate just by wearing our branded clothing. And then functional items, laptop bags, umbrellas, things that they're going to be using and taking places regularly. Gives that opportunity for them to educate just by having the visibility of our organization. As part of your onboarding, if you're not already kind of doing any kind of training piece around communications with your board, it's can even just be like a one sheet to create clear expectations on how to be an ambassador for the organization. Um, Ask for their social media handles or LinkedIn profile links, and ask perhaps if they have a headshot and if they can send that over. So as whoever is in charge of sort of onboarding communication for your organization. I know for us, it's our executive assistant, and her and I work very closely together in making sure, as part of just, their nomination form, we're requesting if they have a headshot to provide it. Just having that photo kind of goes a long way. Some things you can then think about is creating a welcome kit to give to your board members to kind of brag about their new position, with copy for social media or LinkedIn. Tell them exactly what to do. Say, congratulations. Why don't you take the bragging rights and kind of talk to them, write some social media copy about community action proud. I am the new board member at CAAP, and here is what we do, and here's what I'll be doing as a board member. Or maybe, something around a development campaign or something that is timely, but put those kind of welcome kit together. You can even create a little frame. They provided their headshot, pop it in for them, and kind of let them do the work for us and then advocate on behalf of our organization. We also want to create a welcoming new board member post on all of our organization pages and tagging them when applicable, especially on LinkedIn. Creating a social calendar with clear expectations, and this doesn't have to be like our social calendars. It's not going to be the super robust. It can just be throughout the year, a calendar that not only has maybe some events that board members are encouraged to come to in person or program pieces that we would like them to attend, but also just saying, May is Community Action Month, and perhaps giving them some social ideas, any awareness days or key funding campaigns, communicating with them, you know, as they come on board and saying expectations are, as a board member, you'll help support these, and we're going to provide welcome kits and social media kits for you to use. And then work with your team. Like I said, I kind of jumped the gun on this, to create an event calendar. And if you'd like board members to attend, put a minimum number of expected attendance for board members, or any mandatory board activity pieces like board meetings or those things. But you can say, we encourage board members to do a minimum of 3 events with us throughout the year, and that really connects them to the mission. And if you set that expectation right out front, as the communication professionals within our organization, if we can rally and collaborate with our teams to create that calendar and set those expectations, it really kind of helps give that board presence. Is anyone kind of already doing these things with success, or things that you think you may want to be integrating into your welcome kit? Is anyone
Uh,
already branding their board members? Clothes,
n-
swag? No?
no, but I love it. For like our Christmas gifts this year for staff, we all got to pick what item of clothing we wanted. We had like some polos, some pullovers, some zip ups, because everybody, likes some different stuff. But I love that idea. I'm definitely gonna take it back. And also to make sure like we have that copy for them for their social media pages. We have our annual meeting on Friday, so we
Oh,
are accepting a few new board members. So we need to make sure we have that ready for them to go for Friday now.
yep. And honestly, the other is like, well, we're gonna kind of talk about board appreciation, but we love to even like birthdays or anything, send branded items. And if you have giveaways, like one of the things that I always create is, and I still create, it's actually in a giant box under my desk. When you have those handful of leftover giveaways, for whatever insert promotional event, save them, and you can put them if a board member is coming on board in January. This campaign could be from last year, and you don't want to throw them away, and they have them sitting around. It gives them like some swag, to have in the office, or to take around with them, and it's just a nice welcome piece. Yeah, we love to deck out our board members. We So, and then the important piece, so those are some ideas for, to kind of put in your onboarding, but make it ongoing. So, is anyone doing a quarterly, monthly, or, kind of communication piece? I see everyone shaking their heads. Do you do it with regular board communication, or do you do it as like a newsletter style email?
Newsletter.
Newsletter style email. Great. I see everyone shaking their head, because one of the things, and we sometimes I have in the past not been good with this, is it's like, oh my gosh, we didn't send out that board email. Well, we'll just send all of this stuff with their regular board communication. We want to make sure we're engaging with them outside of that. So if you look at when your board meetings are, so that that communication kind of falls as a soft touch in between. And some things that I think are we get overlooked, but can be features that, you build out that newsletter and this is your template and you can always feature it, or some things like staff comings and goings, just staff happenings. You know, really let our board members feel engaged in the work. If we're celebrating a staff member, maybe they became new parents or if they've graduated from a program, if you can get their picture, let's celebrate them to our board members, really connect them to the mission. Um, One of the things that I love to do is always have a standing share opportunities with suggested copy for social media. So it can be, hey, we posted this on our Facebook page to congratulate fellow board member. We'd love for you to go like and share and hyperlink it. Or, we've included this social media kit because it's Community Action Month. Then this is the space to give them those reminders of some of those events, calendar reminders. And I'm going to put a little shameless plug in here. If you're putting together this and you don't have any dates, remember that you can always invite your board as part of CAAP as a member. So you can invite them to any professional development opportunities that we're hosting. So if you're putting together that monthly newsletter, board members love that additional engagement. You can invite them to our events, invite them to any of our trainings. Our webinar series is actually coming up soon, and this just launched on our website, so I will put the hyperlink in the follow-up, but it's a great one to invite board members to. It's called Hiding in Plain Sight, Unmasking Human Trafficking. So it's not community action specific, and it really is, it's live. It's not going to be recorded because they don't want this material out there for anyone, involved in human trafficking to know the ins and outs, but it's really great to help identify, kind of some of those red flags. So that's a great opportunity. That's live on our CAAP calendar. You can get it through the info hub or on our website, but that's a great one to think about inviting board to. And any of our events, if you throw them on your calendar. One of the standing short features I would recommend is, what are we talking about? So this could be good, bad, or indifferent, right? But this is one of those places, realistic expectations, not making assumptions. So, say there is something going on in the community that as staff, we're talking about this, or people are asking us in the community about this. When those things happen, kind of put a little reminder, oh, maybe I should put some talking points together for our board members, because if people are in the community are asking me about this, like I said, it could be good, bad, or indifferent. It's something that we want to make sure that our board feels confident to advocate for. They're serving on our boards because they want that impact in the community. So let's make sure that they feel confident and know the correct things to say. And so we always do, like, what are we talking about? And it could be something small, something big, but giving them some talking points and saying, like, if you're hearing this in the community, or if you're approached with these kind of questions, because if we just give them that opportunity, then they feel confident to answer the questions, and it kind of eliminates some of the uh, either not addressing or, not advocating for us properly. And then, always to provide functional resources. So we made some, we talked about it when we were going through this run through, like you can create, how to read financial documents, and that could be something evergreen that you can create with your finance team, or you can link to a YouTube video. You don't have to create an asset for everything. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And there's also a number of past CAP recordings that are board member specific you can find in CAP Learn. So if you're looking for, hey, here's a resource that you can just hyperlink to that and make sure that they know they can also have a CAP Learn account. Love to include resources. Like we mentioned, appreciation gifts and thank you throughout the year. So we send our board members a thank you gift for Community Action Month and Thanksgiving, holidays, those kind of pieces. But if you're doing any signature events, one of the things that I would highly suggest when you're sending out something to your board, usually we take this like opportunity to kind of celebrate, and we'll send out a thank you gift, or we'll send out an appreciation gift, but always use that thank you tone, especially if you're hitting key successes. So if we're having a celebration party because, we hit a goal on a development campaign, if we're celebrating in the office, again, like things we're talking about, let's send something to our board members. It can be an email, it can be a handwritten note, it could be just something, but always connect them to the work and thank them for their part. Thank you for if they did something specific for this campaign, or just thank you for your support in making this programming happening. When you kind of shift those tone and make sure that they're celebrating the wins with you and that they know about it, it really keeps them engaged. Brand everything, like I said, brand them, brand anything we can, but also work with your leadership team to make sure that you can brand board materials. If you can brand your board minutes, post call, or set up a template. So whoever is handling that, like I said, our executive assistant does. So she has a nice little template that she can pop all the board minutes into. We have templates that are just evergreen for all of our board materials. And if you're meeting in person, print copies for them. Print copies of anything that is going to be addressed during that meeting. Even think about if you have any of those short resources that you've provided in monthly newsletters, if you have the opportunity to print them. And one of the things that we have, which I actually have a stack here, I keep on hand, is our branded folders. So that also, buy 200 of these in the beginning of the year, and that when it comes time and you're printing your resources and materials, brand everything. Then they leave, in their CAAP swag with their CAAP packet, and it gives them, and their talking points we're giving them regularly, to really understand how they can represent us in the community. And one of the things, don't forget the basics. So printed copies, if you're not doing it in onboarding, or things you can kind of like mix in throughout the year, of if you have your mission statement, vision, value statements, if you have any policy changes that are really public forward, your current strategic plan, if you have the opportunity that you can print that. So again, like if you're addressing strategic plan and that board members, we're not going to make any assumptions, even if they were part of our strategic planning process, print that out for that meeting if possible, or distribute digitally. And then this is the like above, once we have our board communication plans in place, is starting to think about creating training opportunities into your board meetings. And even if you can only get on the agenda, because I know board meetings are so packed, but if you can get on the agenda once a year as a development or communications professional, one of the things that I like to do in an additional training is actually crisis communication. This is one of the things that, when hopefully we are never in, but when we are in any type of, from small to high crisis situation, board members often struggle with what that communication plan looks like, what they should be saying, what they shouldn't be saying. We also have an additional factor on our boards that we have elected officials that are oftentimes very sought out for comment from the press, or for really, if we are in crisis, uh, they may be the ones called upon by press outlets. So at one of the very beginning pieces that I try to do around board training is crisis communication. You don't want to scare them. Does everyone have a crisis communication plan in place in their organizations? No. Oh, look, future training. We can provide some. I unfortunately or unfortunately have extensive experience in crisis communication plans, but this is really, it could be something from as small as, one of the things recently that we sent talking points out, and consider it a crisis communication, is recently there was someone reaching out to all community action agencies across the country, kind of trying to solicit information. It actually was about tripartite boards. So we reached out to our board and said, especially because they are executive directors of agencies, said, you may receive this communication. Please do not comment until we research the validity of it and what that looks like. But staying in front of those pieces, and it could be, like I said, just something small like that, like, hey, you may receive this spam email from our, that looks like it's coming from our executive director. If there's anything on your radar, that you can really kind of set that expectation for board members, that not only do these things happen, Okay, and use, pertinent examples. Not only do these things happen, but we're going to help support you through this. And it also kind of helps the expectation if you say, this is how we're going to communicate to you. So, if there is a crisis, expect communication from us via email. And we will make sure to give you talking points, how to address the press or not to address the press, because that's the other thing. If they know right off the bat, because you've done a short crisis communication plan training with them, helps them to understand that it's also okay if the press calls me and I just don't comment or I don't say anything because I know, so and so from my organization, I haven't received that email from them yet. And you can even put in there when a press member reaches out to you, make sure that you, number one, check your email if you've received crisis communication from us, or number two, make sure that you know how to get to insert person. Hopefully it's the development communications person. Sometimes it's the ED, depending, but just talking about, or if they are in a situation of uncomfortable communication or representing the organization, how they should conduct themselves and who they should reach out to. So nothing crazy, but definitely something I would recommend having, and I would recommend training your board. It just sets those expectations. And then things that, if once you have that one training, maybe you can ensure that there's mission moments showcasing mission moment at each board meeting, or giving talking points around positive talking points around that program and event, showcasing some kind of outcome. And there is laundry list of trainings that we can give as communication and development professionals. Would also recommend anytime you're kicking off a development campaign, or that you're going to have any kind of campaign, making sure that's on the agenda. If it can be in the board meeting prior. So I'm going to pause here for a moment because we're going to jump into highlighting your board. Any questions, comments, successes, anything that we didn't chat about that you're currently doing with your board and you feel it's really successful that we can implement into, onboarding process or continued communications?
Well, I will say one thing I do when we have a new staff member come on board, um, I send an email with the picture of the new staff person out to all staff, but I also include it to the board, and the board reaches out then, to that new staff member, and it's just kind of nice to see that interaction.
That's awesome. That's a fantastic idea. I love that. Anyone else doing anything with their board, either in regular communication or like that in highlighting communication, like Delray said, that really is kind of heartwarming and engaging to our board or our staff, because also it's really, just as important for our staff members to engage with our board when whenever possible. They don't normally get that type of engagement.
We've also incorporated at our board meetings what we call a staff spotlight. So we randomly pull 2 to 4 staff members to come in and give a brief explanation of what they do here for CCA, and then give a little bit of about themselves as well. And that's been received really well too.
That's awesome. Yes, absolutely. I love that. Oh, great ideas. Anyone else want to share before we jump? I will share. This was sort of past version, but in a previous role, what we would do is we, as board members kind of came in, we would also just have staff involved in like the organization of it. So we would have very late staff meetings, or I mean board meetings. So we would just ask for staff. I worked for Girl Scouts, so it was also easy. We always had Girl Scout cookies. Just to like hand out cookies, do like cookie tasting or those kind of pieces. And just to get those faces in front. We would also ask if you can showcase mission moment. We would also have Girl Scouts or volunteers if something really, remarkable happened, inviting them and highlighting to board, which is always really great. So next, we're going to jump into highlighting your board with regularity. And we do this is something that I sort of, it's like my 1, 2, 3, 4 process that keeps me every month. I'm thinking, okay, how can I highlight a board member as my evergreen campaign? And this kind of helps. So I always have this folder that I'm getting things of like, okay, inspiration or uses. So one thing I would highly recommend if you don't do this, does everyone know how to set a Google alert? I will, I'm sure there's a little YouTube video or Google video. Here we go. Create a Google alert. I'm going to pop this into our chat. But I would highly recommend, one of the things that setting a Google alert allows you to do is that if your board member, your ED, your organization, I would recommend all of them, setting Google alerts. And if they're featured in the media for anything, you will get an alert to that article. So it's really nice because not often, our board members or even our EDs or staff, can win awards and we're not aware of it just simply because they may not be the person that sort of is boastful of that. But setting those Google alerts allows for you to share if they've received an award, share that actual press link on your social media to kind of highlight and raise up your board's accomplishments. And you can even then feature it on your website, write a little blurb, congratulations to such and such board member on receiving, insert accomplishment, and featuring it on your website. Usually if it's mentioned in the press and you got a Google alert, the nice part is often there's a picture from the event if they attended, and it kind of is a complete package for you. And on the flip side of crisis communication, if anything happens with a board member, you are alerted of it and you can create talking points for senior leadership. Um, so then the second thing is acknowledging those accomplishments. So as I chatted before, like saving some of those little promo gifts. Also, if you see a board member has engaged in something positive in the community and you've been alerted to it, even if they didn't tell you, just sending a little note and saying like, congratulations, we're proud of you. And, a pen and some sticky notes or the stress balls we have left over in the utility closet. It doesn't have to be anything, but that just receiving that is so nice. So either mailing it to them or having it at the next board meeting if it's in person, or the next event, just saying, this is for such and such board member because of what they accomplished. And then the third piece is to create or lift up press opportunities to feature board members to speak on behalf of your organization. So, oftentimes we just fall in the rut of, our ED or a program manager specific is like lifted up when the media calls. Think about the opportunity. If you have enough, sort of runway, can we call upon a board member to speak to this? And because you've been providing them all those talking points and regular communication along the way, you'll start to be able to gauge of who you feel is confident. And you'll be able to see, who's engaging on social media that maybe, would have a skill set better to lift up your organization, or, you can give them the key talking points. Like I will say we have 2 board members in particular, Megan Shreve, our board chair, and Vanessa Filbert, our first vice chair, that I can just give them talking points like seconds before an opportunity, and you'll start to identify who those people are on your board, and they are going to crush it and just do such a great job. So start to identify those people and then think about the opportunities when you can have a board member speak for your organization. And then the fourth piece is the communication plan. This is, I know, always like kind of easier said than done, but giving that communication plan internally that we are going to regularly highlight our board. We're going to do a monthly feature that's highlighting a board member or a program, an event a board member attended, or our board member works for such and such organization, and maybe we can highlight something that they've done. So those are sort of, building in that we have that smile file of when we're receiving Google alerts. We know that we then on our communication plan are looking twice a month to say, okay, have they posted about a board member? And then, ensuring that we're lifting those pieces up. So I'm gonna stop sharing. And I'm gonna ask, is there a time that you have had success in either lifting up a board member in a press campaign or, have really encouraged a board member in a unique way for a development campaign that they really, took it and ran with it and kind of sharing some of those successes that we've had?
We've had success with our county commissioners, who are our board members, sharing out whenever we do our community needs assessment, the community survey that we do. They were really big with getting it pushed out to more people, the different corners of the county. So that has been really great to have them help with that.
That's awesome, and that's a great opportunity, I think, as we know, we're going into community needs assessment, depending on what that cycle looks like in your organization as part of that planning process, okay, we're going to make sure that they have the copy to share out on social media, to put in emails to partnership organizations with the links for the events if they're in person or the surveys, however they're hosted. So that is a great, great thing to kind of keep in mind as we're planning our community needs assessment. And knowing those elected officials, they have those partnerships and the ability to kind of be heard and sending out a press release highlighting a quote from them or how important it is for this to be shared to the community and community call to action to participate. That's going to sound a lot, that's going to reach a different audience because it just has that quote or name from your county commissioner, include a picture of them at a board meeting, board member, county commissioner urges community to participate in this for, et cetera, insert all of your value statements here. That's going to reach, not everyone in our community knows who our EDs are or, who we are on behalf of the organization, but that's a great way to leverage those elected officials on your board. I'll share one of the things that I think it often like I would drop the ball on, but is leading up to development campaigns. I'm always surprised um how engaged our board can be if we prepare them for what that is. And run a little incentive contest just with your board. One of the things that recently, so I think a couple of you participated in the Share the Warmth campaign with FNC, for FCNB, First Commonwealth, First National Commonwealth, whatever it is. But one of the things as a part of that is, if and that's a campaign that will definitely be running, but it's a match campaign, is number one, saying to our board, hey, expectation is this is your best time to give because we want our board members giving, and saying, and I always use like a low dollar, like your $10 becomes $20 because we know also like we want to make sure it fits into every budget, or your $5 becomes $10 or what that looks like. But the expectation is as a part of our board member, you are giving, and that it's matching and just like being able for them to understand that, then to rally around that they are going to be able to get other donations matched. So I had success in just sharing that that was coming, a similar campaign with board members in the past. And then all of a sudden we found out that the employer of a board member also did a match campaign at that point. So then this board member not only was able to take the gift that was matched by the share partner that we had organized, but gave that full donation to their employer and their employer matched it. So a $100 donation very quickly became 100, 200, and then they matched it like $400 donation, and just by sharing one email. So I'm always shocked if we prepare board members for development campaigns, give them the assets, and think about even how to incentivize, may just be bragging rights at the next board meeting, or, you get to pie the ED in the face, or, something appropriate though, based on board relationships, but, something to say, whoever raises the most money during this campaign, and they'll really rise to the occasion. So we'll switch gears and feel free if you have any other, really successful things that you've been able to drive board engagement, just jump in and share. But any challenges that anyone's facing either with current board or, how to kind of navigate, and we'll stop the recording for this portion.